This is Buffalo State Data Talk, the podcast where we introduce you to how data is used and explore careers that involve data.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Buffalo State Data Talk. I'm your host, Heather Campbell, and thank you for joining us for episode 15. Today, we'll be talking to Susan Walsh, the founder and managing director for the classification guru and the fixer of dirty data. Welcome to the show, Susan.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
We're so happy to have you. So could you start us off by telling us about your company, the Classification Guru, and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so I have had my business for 4.5 years, so it'll be my 5th birthday in June. I started when I'd been working for a spend analytics company classifying spend data for procurement. So what that means is I'll go through the whole data set and classify it so that they know exactly what they're spending their money on. And the spend analytics company focused on the dashboards and the analytics and all the shiny stuff, whereas really I could see the problem behind all of that was the quality of the data. So I set up my company and put myself out there to the world to say, look, I'm here to clean your data and classify it. And a lot of people thought it was a great idea. But unfortunately, nobody was looking for me because they didn't know I existed. I've managed to create a niche for myself, which is quite spectacular when you think about it, especially nowadays when there seems to be a niche for everything. But, you know, it really is sometimes the most simple things are the best option, and this is what it is. I manually clean and classify data, reformat it, remove any duplicates, make it nice and tidy and readable. And I have a team and we do most of that manually. There's no fancy trickery or software or automation that's doing it. It's just good old-fashioned hard work.
That's so important. You can't do any of that data analysis. You can't make those dashboards and those beautiful graphs until you have clean, usable data.
Yeah, and I think there's been a bit of a myth that, you buy some software and that will fix it all. And people are starting to realise that it's not going to fix it all at all. You really do have to put some effort in, and there will always be some level of human involvement in data cleaning, data classification.
So now that we have a little bit of an idea of what you do, could you tell us about what a typical day or a typical week would look like for you?
So it's definitely, I think I live a week in a day. So for example, in one day I could be having client meetings for projects that I'm running at the moment. I could be having new business calls with people who are looking to use my services. I could be doing podcasts. I could be getting requests for blogs. I could be writing blogs. I'm on LinkedIn an awful lot, engaging with the community and posting. This week I'm also going to look to create some new videos for content for LinkedIn. I have regular meetings with the people that I work with. So I have a social media lady who helps me, so we have regular meetings. I have a team meeting this morning. I'm managing the projects that we're running and also checking all the work and making sure that it's good to go back to the client. And planning for the future as well, so it can be quite hectic.
Yeah, I see what you mean by a week and a day. Yeah. You sound like you're keeping very busy.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit more about what kind of data it is that you collect and clean?
Yeah, so it is generally 80% of it will be financial data. So it'll be a it'll look a little bit like a more detailed version of your bank statement. They'll have the supplier name or the retailer, wherever you've bought your goods from, and then there'll normally be an invoice description. So, you go to Walmart, you'll only see Walmart on your bank statement. What you wouldn't see is the copy of the receipt and all the individual items, whereas the financial data I look at would be like that. It would be all the lines of each individual thing you've bought, and then a value, and sometimes it's in different currencies. If it's all around the world, it can be in different languages. And then we'll take that and we'll start to classify it into groups. So facilities or professional services or travel or marketing or maintenance, repair and ops. It depends on the industry, but I have classified most industries, I would say, and certainly most languages as well. So
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So the data that you have, how are you storing it? Is there specific software that you use that you are cleaning the data in?
So as I say, yeah, we do it manually, but there is an off-the-shelf tool called Omniscope, which is a data modeling and classification tool. So it means I can take multiple files, merge them all together into one big file, and then we can get the true picture of what's happening and then classify or even clean the data, where it could be reformatting addresses. You know, you might have the whole address in one cell, but you need it split out over maybe 4 columns. So we'll start to work in Omniscope to do that. Mm-hmm. The data itself is saved in the cloud in the UK, so it never leaves like UK servers, etc. Which is quite certainly something that I'm getting asked more about, especially from UK businesses. You know, where's your data being stored? Who's looking after it? Who's working on it? And all my team are all based in the UK as well.
Mm-hmm. So once you've collected the data and you've cleaned it and you've categorized it, what do you do then? What do you actually give back to the clients?
So I will check again. So it gets triple checked before it goes out the door. They get a single CSV Excel file with all the data, and then they can put it into their systems. They can split it up, do whatever they want with it. We really do stop at the point of cleaning it. We don't do any analysis, any dashboards, anything like that. I really did focus in on the part that I knew inside out and knew I was good at. And that's really paid off for me. I think sometimes there's an expectation, you know, you have to do everything, but actually sometimes when you just focus in on that one thing that you're really good at, it pays off.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it is. Your company's growing.
Yeah, it's unreal. I went home to Scotland at Christmas. I hadn't seen some of my friends for 2 years. When I saw them last, I had no clients, I had no money. I thought I might have to get a job. And 2 years on, my business is growing. I've written a book. I've done a TEDx talk last year. You know, everything has changed in the last 2 years. It's been a long slog over the last 4.5 years, but things really started to improve over the last couple of years.
That's excellent. And speaking of your book, I actually have it here.
You do. I still can't quite believe I wrote this.
It's so cool. I've started reading it, and so far so useful. So I'm planning on using the information in here, and
that is amazing.
I highly recommend any of our listeners check out Between the Spreadsheets.
Amazon's been a bit tricky with delivery, but it is available from the American Library Association and bookshop.org, so there are other ways to get it. But that really means a lot, because you know, I just wrote it sharing my knowledge, but I didn't know if anyone would benefit from it, and I've had some really amazing feedback. So
yeah, and there's some great recommendations in the front of the book by some really great data scientists too. So
pretty cool. Yeah.
And the one thing that I really, really love about this is that your voice comes through. It's like a fun read. It's not just like, oh, this is how you classify data, which is what you might expect.
Yes. Well, I guess that's also, I guess we didn't talk about that. So, you know, to get attention for my potential clients, I started making data fun and more relatable, and one of the things that I said to the publisher was, you know, I don't want to lose my voice. I want it to come through. And they did tone it down a bit, but, you know, it's good that it still comes through. I'm really pleased.
It definitely does. And we can put the link to where you can get the book in the description of the episode. the other question I have about the data and the product that you give to your clients, do you hear back from them about, what improvements that they were able to make after you got this clean data?
I have heard that it saved clients. I mean, I know I did some work for one client and it saved 2 of their team 6 hours a week just by improving some spreadsheets for them. I know that another client has saved tens of millions by getting visible. I'm not saying I did that, but by having the visibility to see their data, I certainly contributed to that. I know that another client found out they had way too many consultants on their books, so they needed to do a rationalization exercise.
So what would you say is your favorite part of your job?
Giving it back to the client and seeing the difference it can make to them is so rewarding, because people just underestimate the power of clean data, and it's always undervalued and seen as menial and the job that nobody wants to do. But there's so much power behind it, and when you can show that to them, it's quite special.
Yeah, it is a really important part of the process, and the Buffalo State Data Science program is actually planning on producing a data cleaning course in the future. So maybe coming in 2023, we'll see. So one thing I really wanted to talk about was you are quite active on LinkedIn. And I'm sure, as the founder of a business, it's probably especially important for you to grow your personal brand. Can you talk a little bit about how you've utilized LinkedIn to do this?
Yeah, so as I was explaining at the start, nobody knew that I existed and my services existed, and although people needed it, they weren't looking for it. So I needed a way to let the people who I needed to speak to get some information on what I did. And this started about 3.5 years ago. I started just connecting with procurement people, because initially when I started the business, that's who I was targeting, purely procurement people. And I'd send them some information and they'd maybe keep it on file and keep hold of it. And then I realised that I was spending a lot of time sending individual messages to people. But if I could do a post that could catch more people's attention, then that's a better way to spread my message. So I started experimenting with different posts and different formats, looking at which ones people were responding to. And started off really slow. It was like maybe 1 or 2 posts a week, and then it was a couple more, and then it started being a couple a day, and suddenly it's like I do 2 most days now, religiously. And also wanted again to find that tone that wasn't boring, it wasn't dry, it wasn't formal.
You're definitely fun. Not boring.
Yeah, but because of everything I did, suddenly people from the data world saw my posts and were like, yes, we know this too, we have the same problems. And so then I had a wider audience, and that's where the book came around, because I was like, people need a reference guide. People were asking me, what resources can I read or go to clean data, and there was nothing out there. Now there is. Yeah. I just saw opportunities and just grabbed them.
So if our listeners are not already following you on LinkedIn, I highly recommend that you follow Susan. I will put the link to her LinkedIn in the description of the episode. And one of my favorite things that you post is the little parodies that you do. Could you just tell us briefly about those?
Is that the Lip Sync Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, again, this started in lockdown. This is probably the last thing I thought I would ever be doing in a professional website. But I do Lip Sync Sundays. So I mime to a song every week, and normally I'll try and relate it to a data topic or a procurement topic or a business topic, or like this week it was about women, so it's who run the world. Run the World Girls Beyonce song. So it's about, women that are going to kick ass this year. But I also do Friday songs where my copywriter reworks certain songs. So for example, Single Ladies, I've got a Data Ladies version.
Yes.
So I've got that as well. And actually, I just did want to add, it often feels, whether you have a business, whether you're looking for a job, whatever reason you're on LinkedIn, it feels like nobody sees you, nobody notices you. Sometimes it can take months for people, or years even, to get in touch with me after they've been seeing my content. So it's really important to be consistent and show up all the time consistently. And whether that's once a week or once a day, keep it up, because you never know who's watching. Don't expect instant results. It's definitely planting little seeds all over the place and then watching them grow at different times.
Excellent advice. So do you have any additional advice on somebody who's interested in starting and working in data?
Yeah, don't be afraid that you don't know it all, because I don't know any of it and I'm still working in data. Don't focus in on the bits you don't know. Focus in on the bits you're really good at and develop those, because you will find someone to partner with who will do the other bits. You don't have to be good at everything, and find what you enjoy. I mean, if you don't enjoy it, what's the point? Because you spend most of your life working. So, try some things out, try different areas. Before you get a job, try some projects on freelancer websites like Upwork or Fiverr. Just to, take on a project. You're not going to make any money from it, but you'll pick up so much experience.
That's a really great idea. And even if you know that, maybe you're interested in data, you want to be a data analyst, you want to be a data scientist, there's still so many areas within data science that you could go into. You could do just the cleaning part. You could do analysis, data viz. You could work in higher education. You could work in marketing. You can work in healthcare. So
even like people analytics, HR, it's everywhere now. But the other thing is, I can't do math. I really can't do math. I failed it so badly it didn't show up on my certificate. It doesn't mean that you can't do data. You can still do data without knowing too much math or statistics or all that. It's not, data is so broad now.
I'm sure that's comforting to know to some of our listeners.
Yeah, I avoid numbers at all costs. For me, it's all about the text and the patterns that you see in the data. So word searches, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you may learn new areas that you like that you didn't know about.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like our listeners to know that we didn't get a chance to cover today?
Actually, I guess it's a data-related point, but I created a kind of, not an analogy, but a methodology called coat. So make sure your data has its coat on, like a jacket, so that it's consistent, it's organised, it's accurate, and it's trustworthy. And actually, you could apply that to job hunting. Consistently check every day. Be organised about who you're targeting and who you've applied to. Be accurate in your CV, your resume, what information you're telling them, and then trust the process that, keep going and something will happen.
Definitely. Great advice. I love it so much. Susan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And to all of our listeners, if you haven't already, check out our previous podcasts. They're available wherever you listen to podcasts. For more information about starting your career as a data scientist, go to dataanalytics.buffalostate.edu. And don't forget to subscribe so that you get a notification each time we release a new episode of Buffalo State Data Talk.